Awesome. I am also so excited to be here. I have so enjoyed um, so many of these webinar series, and I feel humbled and privileged to be invited to hang out with you guys tonight. And I just want to compliment each of you that have taken time out of your lives to start the year off by joining this webinar and by focusing on the things that matter most. One of the things that I've definitely learned in my time in relationship education is that relationships truly are what matters most. And I think you know that as well, or else you probably wouldn't be here. But evidence of that is all around us. You know people, as I do, that seem to have everything or could have anything they want. But if they have unhealthy relationships, they aren't really happy. And the opposite of that is also true. We see examples of that all around us, of people that really don't have a lot of access to some of the things that would make life convenient. We see this especially sometimes in third world countries. But if people have healthy relationships, then they're still happy. It really is the thing that matters most. And so just compliment to you for taking time out of your lives and your schedules to prioritize your marriage relationships, because it is the thing that matters very most. So with that, we have this poll up, just a fun question to see where you've been at in the last month, some of the things you've been working on, looking at, taking advantage of in your marriage. So if you haven't had a chance to answer the poll question, it's just one question. You can select any answers that apply to you. And we'll let Camilla share those results and kind of see where we're at as a group. I can't see the results. Camilla, did you share them? There we go. Perfect. Okay, this is really cool. So if you look at the results, you should all be able to see them. And it's telling us that almost all of us here, looking at 88% of us, took time in the last month with just the two of you, which I think is pretty incredible, because with all the things that were happening in the last month, sometimes it was easy to put the marriage relationship kind of on the back burner when you were doing so many holiday things and family things. To take time to connect just the two of you sometimes is difficult. And so the fact that this group did such a good job at that, I think is really impressive. And I was interested in the last question. I am a major traditionalist. Like, once you start a tradition, you do it for life. So I love the idea of creating new traditions together. If you do something together that's like, hey, I think we're going to do this regularly, I think this is going to become tradition. I think that's kind of a fun thing to consider as well. These kinds of things, connecting in new ways, designing a new place, setting resolutions together to help strengthen our marriage, all of these kinds of things increase the optimism in our marriage. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about how when we say yes, it increases optimism in our marriage. And for many of us, not for everyone, but for many of us, our most natural and default response in many situations is no. The exception to this is, like, if someone asks for your help, like they needed to watch their kids, or they need a ride to a doctor's appointment, or they need you to volunteer for the book fair. Many of us have a hard time saying no when someone asks us for help. But usually, with that exception, no is the default response for many situations. So I want to do a little exercise. You can just keep track on your fingers, or if you're taking notes and you have a paper in front of you, you can number your paper 1 to 5, super simple. But I want you to assume that each of the following situations or questions requires a yes or no answer. So yes or no. And then I want you to just keep track of your initial default response. So if your initial, like what comes to you first is yes, or if what the initial default response is no, that's what we're paying attention to. Okay, you ready? All right. Number one, your child asks if they can get a new pet. Yes or no? Number two, your teenager requests a specific dessert after dinner tonight. Number three, you are in a live classroom and the teacher asks for a volunteer to come to the front. Number four, your partner suggests the purchase of a new piece of exercise equipment. And number five, a big new idea starts to formulate in your brain. So obviously we won't share our results as a group, but I will give you a minute to compare notes with your partner, with what you, if your partner's joining with you. How many things you were like, yes, and how many things you were, no, was your initial response. Even if that's not what you would have said out loud, that was like your default, okay, your default response. Okay, so if it's the case with you that your default natural response, like most people, to many situations is just no, you don't need to worry. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're a negative person. That's just normal. And the reason it's normal is because we are wired to protect ourselves. And our natural defense is to protect ourselves from risk. And since our brains are wired to work as efficiently as possible, the most efficient way to do that is to simply say no. It's the most efficient way to protect ourselves from any kind of, to keep those defenses is to just say no. And so for many of us, our default response to almost anything, unless someone asks for help, right, is for us to just say no. Tonight, however, I want to propose the idea of changing our default response in our marriage, at least, to saying yes. So that's the initial idea, right? Changing the default, making your automatic response a yes. And just asking that question, how can we say yes more often in order to increase the optimism in our marriages? So tonight I'm going to share just 3 simple suggestions and then a bonus tool at the end. And there's obviously a lot of nuance on this, a lot of specific situations and reasons that we should say no, that we need to create healthy boundaries. We're not going to get into all of that tonight. These are just simple suggestions for you to consider if this would be healthy for you in your specific situation, if you think something like this might be beneficial. So the very first tool to kind of like changing our default. So instead of an automatic no, anytime our partner comes to us with an idea or a suggestion or a question, instead of us just being like, no, like I'm too busy, or I'm too drained, or I'm too hurt, or I'm too defensive, or I'm too distant, or any of those things, instead of just know that we actually, our default is like, yes, like how can we make this work? Yeah, how can we consider this in our marriage? How can we shift our default instead of just a default no? How can our default be a yes? So the first tool that we're going to talk about, and this may seem kind of counterintuitive, but the why in say yes, Y-E-S, is you. Make time for the things that help you feel like you. So I want you to take just a minute and think about what you really enjoyed before you were wife, or before you were husband, or spouse, or partner, or whatever you define yourself as. Before that was who you are, what did you make time for no matter what? What really like lit you up inside?